Radio Free Skaro.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Radio Free Skaro, episode number 779. I am Stephen in Edmonton.
Warren in Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
Welcome to the second of our three-part miniscope on Rachel Talalay. This is the big one. Heaven Sent and Hell Bent. We have some thoughts to say about those two episodes, which have been sort of middling in fandom. We're trying to maybe bring them sort of bump them up a little bit in the esteem of Doctor Who fandom a little bit. No, obviously the two of the greatest episodes ever made. And we'll be talking about them. And if check your feeds if you haven't noticed already, but we've re-released the commentaries for Heaven Sent and Hell Bent, plus an interview with Rachel Talalay leading up to it. So as the bonus content continues here on RFS, this coming week we have one because Warren visited Rachel Talalay's house a second time. I think
I think so. It's a long time ago.
It's a long time ago. Yeah, to just in the run up to the three-part finale, if you will, to Peter Capaldi's time on Doctor Who, where you talked about Twice Upon a Time and the other two, which, you know, the other ones were World Enough in Time.
World Enough in Time, Dr. Falls.
Dr. Falls, that's one. So that's coming this week. But there was a momentous event, though, this past week. Obviously, it's been all over the internet, and that's Bernie Sanders' mittens. But on the same day that photo was taken, and thus creating a meme that will never die, Tom Baker, the great Tom Baker, turned 87. So
he need never die.
Yeah, happy belated birthday to Thomas Stewart Baker, who is just obviously the greatest of all time. And the fact that they had a big giant party in Washington and inaugurated a president in honor of Tom Baker on his birthday was
rescued the planet in honor of Tom Baker.
Yeah, quite something. So happy birthday to him. We're doing something fun here. It's gonna be fun, everyone. We're calling this nothing. We don't know what it is. This week in Doctor Who. We're looking back. See what happened on this week in Doctor Who. Not necessarily this day in history, but this week in history, because people might listen to this throughout the course of the week. But I will say that, speaking of Tom Baker, on the day that this comes out, January 24th, first off, happy birthday, Chris, because it's your birthday. And secondly, on January 24th, as Warriors Gate was going out, part 4 of going out, Tom Baker's last day on set on Doctor Who in 1981, filmed his last scenes. So how about that? 3 days after his birthday, and it's like, oh, out you go. Get out of Doctor Who. Never coming back.
Which is, I guess, kind of an interesting bookend, because on the 25th of January, Ark in Space, arguably amongst Tom Baker's best, episode 1 aired.
Yeah, on the 25th, which is, of course, a week and a bit before my birthday, of course. No, the Ark in Space 1 is crazy, because I don't know what the ratings are. We're not doing this for stats. We're expressly...
which is the one that got the great ratings? The second one?
Second was, because it was the word of mouth from episode 1 of Ark in Space, and then everyone tuned in for episode 2, and it hit 6 in the... 6 or 5? 5 or 6? I think it's 6 in the... 5. It was 5. 6 in the ratings that week, because everyone's like, did you see this thing? Like, that's just Doctor. He's wearing this crazy scarf and he's talking about Homo sapiens. It's like, it's the greatest thing ever. Like, you know, like
there's bubble wrap, which we don't know what that is yet.
Well, we didn't have bubble wrap. We didn't have bubble wrap yet in episode 1.
Bubble wrap was new when Ark in Space was made.
I know, but it didn't.
Really? I had no idea.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah. I don't know if it was like a consumer product or anything like that at that point even.
No,
I don't know, maybe, yeah. It could be the sort of thing you get like videotapes packed in, most likely. If
Yeah.
you're a broadcast
well,
concern.
it's funny because, in Remembrance of the Daleks, they had the Dalek time controller, which is those little, little electric globe things. And like they were
balls.
Yeah, there's like a relatively new at the time. And think, oh, we'll use one of those. It'll be cool. And then like by the time it broadcasts, like everyone's got one. It's like, oh, okay. It's got this little toy that you buy at like San Francisco or Spencer's Gifts or something.
Wow, neither of those exist anymore, by the way, I'm pretty sure.
Spencer's does.
Spencer's does. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, San Francisco doesn't.
No, not for a very long time.
No. The city or the store. No.
Yes, the city is gone. Nobody knows where it went.
Yeah. Just a year ago, on the 26th, Fugitive of the Jadoon aired. Back in the day when 2020 was all being blown away about there being a hidden doctor, and that was like, this is the biggest thing to happen all year. This is amazing. Wow.
Yeah. It's kind of freaky to think that was only a year ago because it seems so.
It's epic.
It seems so ingrained at this point.
I know. I'm looking at the thing. You could follow along, by the way. Tragicalhistorytour.com is where we're getting all these historical broadcast dates. And I looked at it and go, 2020. Wow, what is this? Oh, right. It's only 2021 right now. Math is just the year plus one is what we're in right now. And it feels like, really? There's only 1 year separating 2021 and 2020. Huh.
It doesn't feel like it at all.
No, it doesn't at all. No. Underworld wrapped up on the 28th in 1978.
And everybody had a nice nap.
Yeah, right. It was that was something. The Daleks Master Plan, episode 12. Boy, one of the darkest episodes of Doctor Who history. Wrapped up on January 29th with the death of Sarah Kingdom. I want to bring this up because everyone talks about Sarah Kingdom as being a companion and stuff, but I always ask, like, well, if you're counting Sarah Kingdom,
the debate over whether she's a companion.
Yeah, you got, if you're going to count Sarah Kingdom, then you got to count Brett Vion because they fulfill the same role and they're related.
And you gotta count Mark Shepard's Canton, Everest, Delaware.
That's what I like about the new series is it basically just this thing. Yeah, you know what? Your little previous unwritten criteria about, well, they traveled in the TARDIS, therefore they're a companion. Everyone travels in the TARDIS.
The Breakton didn't travel in the TARDIS as such.
No, didn't.
I mean, he got like transported in 3 doctors and whatever.
Yeah.
But he didn't formally travel in the TARDIS.
No.
Not even in Modern Undead, did he? No.
Yes, he
I don't think so.
He did.
Maybe.
He did.
Or at least by the time he was considered a companion, Modern Undead hadn't happened.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't remember precisely if he did or didn't in Modern Undead.
You know
who
else? You know who else is a companion? Maybe they didn't travel.
Captain Stapley.
Captain Stapley, obviously, the entirety of Little Hodcomb in the Awakening, a companion.
A whole bunch of Cybermen.
Tons of Cybermen. A Sontaran or two.
Pre-handles Cybermen.
So many. There's probably one still stuck in there. Companions.
There's an obvious corollary to this, which is this rule is stupid.
I know. I know.
I think the point where it is that the rules don't matter.
They don't.
Yeah, I agree.
They don't matter
unless
at all.
you're the president of the United States, in which case they do.
Never mind. Because everyone always talks about Star Trek and its Bible, its canon, and the importance and indelibility of it and whatever.
By everybody you mean annoying nerds on the internet? Then yes.
Yeah. And the flip side of that is usually Doctor Who has a canon. What? Things happen, but it's not really a canon. And I'm firmly of that opinion. And yeah, so I think this just goes to prove that kind of thing.
I know what you mean. Like, yeah, like there is a specific canon. This is going to segue into something that was also mentioned because Russell T Davies has been in the news because his show is It's a Sin. Is coming out on what, Channel 4? It's Channel 4, I think, right?
First episode aired already a couple days ago as this goes out, and the entire, however many episodes it is on Channel 4, all 4 website for on demand.
Oh, wow. Well, he's been promoting that, and naturally people ask him about Doctor Who, and he mentioned somewhere, I didn't read the full article, but he mentioned about how there should be there should be Doctor Who massive universe like there's Star Wars and Star Trek.
MCU style.
MCU style, but honestly, I mean, Big Finish is there. That's what they do. There is no such thing as Big Finish in the Star Trek or Star Wars world. But also when there's no real canon, it's tougher to do a spin-off because Star Wars and Star Trek, here is your timeline, and here's your parameters right there, and like there, you have to fit that in because that's mostly what they feel they have to do. Whatever they do, eventually there's going to be a stormtrooper and someone with a lightsaber. That's the rules in Star Wars. Whereas like Doctor Who, like what would a spin-off entail in Doctor Who? You know, like maybe we could Unit could do something. Okay, well, sure, we've already done lots of episodes with Unit, but sure, that's fine. You know, maybe the Doctor visits, I don't know, Rome or something, and well, you could have a Doctor Who spin-off set in Rome because the Doctor's been there.
You could have a WandaVision style Matt Smith, Alex Kingston sitcom.
You could possibly do that. You know, the possibilities of spin-offs are endless and thus kind of irrelevant. You know, because it's like you must just make a new thing.
Was it
which is
okay?
preferable.
So. Happy Days had how many spin-offs? Was it like 6?
Oh,
5, 6, 7,
Loves
something like
Chachi,
that?
the cartoon version of Happy Days,
Mork and
Mindy. That's 4.
yeah.
Because there's like 5 or 6 or 7 spin-offs from Happy Days.
It was itself a spin-off of Love American Style. It was like a segment within that show.
Yeah.
I don't know if you count the Happy Days cartoon as a spin-off.
Warren mentioned that.
Might as well.
Yeah.
Is it canon? Is the dog going onesie? Canon?
What about
my God?
Where's the Happy Days extended universe?
Happy Days-averse, the cinematic universe?
Where is that? Where like
I still want to see the McDonald's cinematic universe. Also, when you get right down with these things, BBC doesn't need to build a cinematic universe.
No.
Disney, and Marvel, and all the rest of it. They kind of do to keep the product going,
Exactly.
keep people going to theme parks and all the rest of it. BBC doesn't need to do any of
Disney
this.
is also a commercial thing with money. The BBC is a non-commercial thing without so much money.
Exactly.
Yeah, the BBC has no need. In fact, it has a mandate that kind of keeps it. Maybe it doesn't formally keep it from doing it, but it's kind of like not contesting an election. You probably shouldn't do it, even if you can.
Yeah.
And so the BBC doesn't need to, and probably won't ever.
No.
Like I understand the sentiment behind what RTD is saying, but I don't know why dilute Doctor Who like that.
That too, you know, like there's no great like hierarchy order. Like, you know, Kathleen Kennedy just sort of keeps an eye on all the Star Wars stuff. There's like Kevin Feige for the Marvel stuff. There's Alex Kurtzman for Star Trek. You know, there isn't some grand like, you know, gestalt that's sort of keeping an eye on all these little spin-offs because Doctor Who is such a massive thing that, like, you know, they sign off on Big Finish. That's pretty much what they do.
And here's the thing. We had our end game. It was in 2013 and it was called Day of the Doctor. I
was.
don't need anything else.
No, I know. And, you know, there's 57 years worth of stuff in Doctor Who too. That's the thing. I mean, sure, there's lots of like novels and stuff for Star Wars and everything, but I feel like there's...
Well, there is for Doctor Who too, I mean.
Yeah, that too, exactly, on top of all that. But
when you look at Day of the Doctor, and okay, this is very biased because I'm a fan.
Yeah.
And it's 50th anniversary and all the rest of it, but the audience reaction to that was as strong or stronger than anything I saw with Endgame. I'm talking about the general audience.
Yeah.
Like, we were all losing our minds watching this. So we've already accomplished what's set out to be accomplished. It doesn't need to be done. Doctor Who did it first, damn it.
that's a very wow. That's a very good point. It's rare that we get to sing Doctor Who's praises legitimately. You know, it's like we did it
And
first.
for a lot less money.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I'm again it. And plus, as we said before, it would be very difficult to podcast because every single week we'd be reviewing like a spin-off and be going,
God, I'm tired just thinking about it.
oh God, it would be, yeah. We'd have to have a spin-off podcast just to talk about the spin-offs, and it would just be that's ridiculous, and you know, and let's be thankful the fact that, you know, Doctor Who airs like at a set time as well, because, you know, I don't know how you managed with the Expanse podcast you do, Warren, with the last 2 seasons. Amazon just sort of drops them all. There you go. Watch them all.
We kind of just did it as we did it. Not all of us could watch it all at the same time, and I'm glad Amazon didn't do it with this season.
Oh, they didn't dump it all at once.
No, they did the first 3
piecemeal for
eps
season 5.
Oh, nice.
right off the top, and then it's been weekly since.
Oh,
and
that's
WandaVision, I have to praise Marvel for this is just 1 week at a time, and that's absolutely the right idea.
Yeah, they dropped first 2, and then
Yes, that's true.
weekly after that. But you know that's
But
how you.
it's also a limited run as well.
Yeah,
And same with Mandalorian and all the other Star Wars stuff, presumably. I think that's the best way to do it. They, after experimenting with this whole all the time thing, I think it's good that, like you've said for a while, Stephen, that we go back to the 1 a week thing. It does let it build up, and you get excited to watch something again.
yeah.
It gives you a chance to also keep current with other people who you want to talk about the show with.
That too.
Especially something like WandaVision, which is built on something like we're jumping through the different decades. Well, doing that all at once doesn't really work, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it also, let's face it, keeps people subscribed for more than a month or two when you are paying however much a month for Disney Plus and or Paramount Plus or whatever it's going to be called for Star Trek and stuff. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cynicism. As this is going on the 24th, we've already had another tweet along. Emily Cook organized one for school reunion that happened on the 23rd. So hope you enjoyed that, everyone. Hasn't happened yet for us, has already happened for you. We're bearing the big news, of course. That the big giant news of the week is that we have another Blu-ray collection set. Just when we thought that North America had officially caught up, because in Canada we actually have a release date for the season 8, aka John Pertwee Complete Season 2. It's coming out June 1st in Canada. No link on Amazon yet for the American ones. But I assume the fact that there's a proper actual release date of June 1st that we're going to get it. I don't even think there's an official release date in the UK yet, even for this. So.
Yes, there is. It's February.
Oh, right. We talked about that. I keep forgetting
that said, our friend Phil Cannon from the Who's He podcast mentioned his order got pushed back a couple of weeks into March, I think.
Yeah, that's how it goes. So anyway, we have that to look forward to. I pre-ordered that. But the next set coming down the pipe, Season 24, Warren's favorite season of Doctor Who, coming to Blu-ray. I will tell you, the trailer's fantastic. I mean, these things.
Okay,
go on.
The trailer, yes, it's very, very good. Is my memory correct? Is this the first time we've actually had a doctor in the Blu-ray set trailer?
Oh God, no.
Thank you.
No, Colin Baker was there. He was on trial for the season 23 one.
He was okay. Because I think back to Janet Fielding doing the thing on the airplane, and Louise Jameson in the garden with whichever robot of death, and I thought for some reason this might be the first time that actual doctor was involved in the trailer.
No, I don't think Davison was in the 19 one. Tom Baker certainly did the voiceover for season 18.
Yeah, I remember her doing the voiceover.
Yeah, but these things have become like massive events.
They've become their own thing. Like Pete McTighe could start a whole side career.
Yeah. There's credits.
Really.
There's credits on this one, a business proposal for Mel, because it involves Mel, Bonnie Langford, being basically like the Apprentice kind of thing. I have a thing called 24 Karat. Shark Tank, thank you. And, accepts proposals. And like it has like Catherine Cusack, who played the Blue Kang leader in Paradise Towers, and there's a Tet Trap on there. And
it has Edward Peel in it.
Here's the other thing. They have Vidfire. These things are vidfire.
I know, they look proper. And then McCoy shows up. And it's just like, it's the trailers. I mean, let's face it, season 24, not the greatest season of Doctor Who history, but one that I appreciate because it had to come together in such a short amount of time that I give it a lot of slack. And I thought it was visually, I thought it was a big step forward for the show. But seeing the Doctor and Mel, seeing the Doctor and Mel together again, it's just like, I got fuzzy memories about season 24 just by watching this trailer. Anyway, Chris.
The trailer is also 8.5 or something minutes. 8 minutes long. So I'm wondering if you mentioned the credits at the end of it. Sure enough, they're there. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if that's something to do with just how long it is, because all the other stuff before, like Sophie Aldred in the office building and whatever, like it's all like 2.5 minutes, maybe 3. But this being 8 minutes, maybe its length necessitated some sort of credits sequence for like union rules or something.
Oh, I don't know about that. I think it's just kind of neat, union rules. It's not 1978 anymore. Union action. They had to get the shots in before 10 o'clock, or they would have pulled the plug on the lights. I don't think so. I think it's just.
And for whatever it's worth, I didn't realize that was a Blue Kang leader that was in there. Although I see she's got like a blue scarf tied around her neck.
Oh, I didn't notice that, but I recognize her mostly because she was on the DVD extras for Paradise Towers when it came out. But this is exciting. So there's extended versions of all 4 stories featuring previously untransmitted material. 5.1 stuff, like we've come to expect that now from Mark Ayers. A whole feature-length overview of season 24 documentary, plus the making of Delta and the Bannerman. I guess there wasn't a making of. I thought there was. This is the exciting bit to me. Now, I have personally said to Russell Minton, who's sort of the executive producer of this whole range, that I adore the raw studio footage and stuff. And they've I think it was season 19 has the most, I think, but even then it's like 9 hours total. And there's like 1 billion hours of this stuff available. And I think I said to him at the last Gallifrey 1, 3.5 years ago, it seems now at this point, that I adore it. Put it on unedited. I don't care. If it's like 12 hours of people moving cameras around, I still love it. And now over 25 hours of raw material never seen before, including behind the scenes footage from the regeneration scene. Like this is for me. This is for me.
I just imagine you sitting there with a case of Red Bull, just watching that all in one go.
I will guarantee
what's happening. I don't even know anymore.
It will be the first thing I watch. I don't care. I know a lot of people work hard on all the other stuff on this. I will literally watch that raw footage first, and that'll be the first thing I will watch it all the way through. I will flip disc. There's other things to watch on disc 1. I don't care. I'm going to disc 2 and I'm watching it. What?
I think I speak for Chris and the audience when I say you're a weirdo.
I'm a weirdo. Warren, I accept this. All right, this is my thing. I like this. I like the history of hockey net design. I like car handles on door handles on cars.
I've gone through many a 1980s network logo rabbit hole on YouTube, and I'm sitting in a room full of dolls. I am no one to talk.
Exactly.
Chris might be the same.
Yeah.
I just liked your remark from before we started recording, Warren, asking Steven if he also likes to watch trains go by for 8 hours at a time.
I love slow TV. Love it. It's the best. There's also Matthew Sweet interviews Sylvester McCoy about his life career on Doctor Who. There's behind the
those Matthew Sweet things are always fantastic.
Amazing. He's so good. I'm excited about Behind the Sofas. Now this is interesting. It's just 4 new episodes, so maybe they've stopped doing them episodically and they're doing them as a whole story now. That might be just be
no. It's just 4 episodes of Behind the Sofa.
I mean, like an episode per story. Usually they've had like for each individual episode. Is it right November? No. It isn't. It is just 4. Okay. But what's interesting about it though is because, and you can tell they're doing during COVID because they got the plexiglass between all the people. But one of them has Sylvester McCoy, Bonnie Langford, Sophie Aldred. Then there's Peter Davison, Janet Fielding, and Sari Sutton. And then there's Colin Baker and Michael Jaston in another one. So like there's other doctors looking back at another Doctor's era, which is always fun. So
Michael Jason's actually a bit of a treasure, which I didn't know until getting a chance to like meet him at Galley and stuff like that. But he and Colin Baker are very, very good together.
Yeah, and
I quite look forward to that.
Yeah. There's a whole bunch of rare gems from the archives, promotions of the promotions from 1987. That's always an interesting convention footage.
Well, there's also the Doctor's Table thing, which I think you might have because they had that one for season 26.
Yeah, sort of like a round table kind of thing.
Yeah, just sitting at a restaurant. I think it might even be the same restaurant. But it's kind of fun. So Clive Marison is in there from Paradise Towers.
Yeah.
Which that was fun because the version. No, it was a trial. It was a trial because Michael Jaston was in the other one I'm thinking of.
You might be right. As you say, they've done them for a few things, like the restaurant season 18.
I just realized that several years from now we're going to get Zoom panels because that's what they could do at the time.
I don't know. Yeah. No, I feel like that one was recorded before COVID. By the way.
Oh no, I just mean like for future releases of whatever.
Oh no, I think they're doing them in the way that's safe now and to ensure that it looks good, or they'll delay them. The heads, production being pushed back a little bit.
And not necessarily steal your thunder with the announcement of the stuff here, but the Patricia Quinn interview that's going to be part of this.
Oh, good God!
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Audience,
having been part of one.
Audience with Lady Stevens. It's called with Brand interview with Rocky. Of course, she was in Dragonfire, and of course, she was in Rocky Horror. So yeah, Patricia Quinn. I mean, goodness, I am I'm so excited for it. I am excited for all of them, but as it gets closer to the end of the run, there's a lot more stuff that's available, I think, to be able to put on. And let's face it, a lot of people who are thankfully still around to be able to talk about them and all. And so I'm
and also because it's toward the end of the run, it's less old, which means it's less degraded or easier to keep track of or whatever. Not just that there's more.
Yeah. So no release date yet for that, and certainly not here in North America. So this one looks really cool. Just for the VAM alone, the 25 hours of behind the scenes footage.
And then of course it's got all the stuff from prior releases.
Yep.
So for example, for Time in the Rani, what was it called? 70 Effects?
Yeah, 70 Effects. Yeah.
Which was a phenomenal documentary.
Very
for Time
good.
in the Rani.
And for some reason,
I'm intrigued by this.
Well, I've also included the production code in the actual name of the documentary. And it's just
which I'm sure
that's
makes you
ridiculous.
smile a lot.
A little bit. Yeah. Yeah. Still hoping, by the way, for when the season 22 box set comes out. A feature on Alexi Sale as the DJ on in the Dalek story. Radio Free Skaro.
Hey,
Turns out he did kill my brother.
It's sitting right there. Radio Free Skaro. You could call it that, and we would be happy. It just makes sense. It makes sense.
He's still alive.
And he's still alive. Maybe they're already working on it. Who knows?
There's also a link in the show notes to, annoyingly, it's only on Facebook because that's where Lee Binding posts these things. But there's a clean copy of the artwork, and it's nice to see Sylvester McCoy holding the spoons from Time in the Rani.
The space spoons. I saw Chris Chapman tweet about that. It says Sylvester McCoy wanted to play they wanted him to play the spoons in it, so they had to make some prop space spoons because it was set in space, which is why it has. And I love that. Yeah, he subbed in the umbrella for the space spoons. Quite something. Surprised they didn't market those. They should have had official Time in the Rani spoons.
I don't know if there was such a thing for that in 1987. Like nowadays,
now.
Everything, yes.
Yeah, like you can buy the jumper. You might as well get the spoons with it too.
Because I think like the late 80s was like the wrong time for things. Because you had all the stuff in the 70s. You've had all the stuff that's come with the revamp, but the 80s, I think, just that didn't exist as such.
No.
Here's the merchandise I want to see. I want an umbrella from the Stones of Blood that the Doctor then flings, but it's retractable, so you can just pull it right back into frame and keep it for the next time you want to fling it out of frame.
I know. I'm horrified by that scene every time.
I love it. I think it's brilliant that he just tosses that umbrella away.
Chucks the umbrella.
Oh, it's
or how about,
great. It's just, it sums up the show. It's just that's what the show is like. Yes.
Yep.
Or how about the umbrella from Mysterious Planet? You can include some rocks with it as well.
We're going down a really deep rabbit hole here.
Yes, the umbrella set. All the umbrellas in Doctor Who.
Yes. Well, I mean, McCoy used two different umbrellas before the question mark one. So
I think he only had the one, didn't he? No, that's right.
Throughout his era, I did like the question mark umbrella.
He did have Baker's umbrella, which he barely used, and then his own in Paradise Towers, and then he finally got the question mark in Delta. Yeah. You get the torched one, the torched black umbrella that Troughton had, the Crotons too. That's another one you could do in the umbrella set. I mean, it's
wow.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, ridiculous on this show, asking for merchandise. We've never done that before.
Umbrella set, make it happen.
Umbrella set. Come on, like full size.
Come on, Big Chief. I want radically detailed umbrellas.
Thank you. 1-to-1
Charge me
scale.
400 pounds each.
1-to-1 scale. I want them all.
Can we include Perry's parasol in there as well?
Oh yeah. Did she have a parasol?
Did she have a
Did we
parasol?
mention the production photo or publicity
like
photo, multicolored umbrella that Colin Baker had?
That's the one that we're talking about in Time of the Rani. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't think she had a parasol in Mark of the Rani. I don't remember seeing it. She just had the dress.
Okay.
So, we'll do a deep dive on this for whenever the Doctor uses umbrellas. We can do it. This is also exciting. Doctor Who magazine is putting out I don't know if this is going to be a new feature, but they're sort of talking about like doing these maybe for landmark years. It's called Doctor Who Chronicles. They're looking at 1965, the rock and roll years. Yes, it's a whole thing, 116 pages on the making of Doctor Who in 1965, like the calendar year. So like there's on the cover, there's, stuff from obviously season 2, but also dipping into season 3, into Galaxy 4 and stuff too. So what a fascinating time, because of course that's the end of Verity Lambert's time on the show, and John Wiles comes in, and it's all turmoil after that. So it comes out February 24th. There's no link on it on the Doctor Who magazine site or in the app, which is where, of course, I get them. But it is on Who Shop in the show notes at radiofreesky.com if you want to pre-order a copy for yourself. But I will be mashing that order button on the app like a like button on somebody's YouTube channel.
Smash that like button.
Yeah.
Smash it.
Smash it.
And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yeah.
Missy also had an umbrella, don't forget.
Of course,
Oh,
Missy
yeah, she
Umbrella.
did.
And she has her own Titan comic series coming up, launching in April, which is very cool. There's a shot of her playing chess on the cover and stuff.
That's a great cover.
It is. Yeah, there's 3 or 4 covers. I like the cover with the different masters in the background, Delgado and,
Yes.
and John Sim, and No Love for Anthony Ainley, and there's Sasha
And
Dewan
Jodie
back
has
there.
apparently been checkmated, as has Capaldi.
Oh yeah, look at that. That's all Doctors Who. Aha.
Oh, and the new master, Sasha Dewan's there lying down.
So he is. I haven't looked at great detail yet of that the cover by David Busian. But yeah, that is pretty cool. So very interesting.
Got the Eric Roberts master. You got the Skeletal master. You got Delgado. Yeah,
And that looks like a Keeper of Traken skeletal master, not the better Deadly Assassin.
Well,
I think you're right.
is it better though? He's just wearing a mask and
Yes,
stuff.
it is better. This is not arguable.
I know.
Non-negotiable.
I know.
I mean, the lips moved at least in the Keeper of Traken.
Well, yeah, I just
Yeah, but he's not as terrifying as the Deadly Assassin one.
no. So yeah, it's coming out in April. The Missy series, Missy issue 1 from Titan Comics. So that looks pretty damn cool actually, and they've really captured Michelle Gomez and her wry look rather well, I dare say.
They really got that down.
Yeah. So that'll be exciting. Also getting a republish with the launch of the season 24 box set is Andrew Carmel's Script Doctor book, getting limited reprinting due February 8th. You can pre-order it. Links in the show notes from 10 Acre Films. I've never read that one, but I think it's been like reprinted like 2 or 3 times, I think, in the past now. But this will be the latest one. So, the inside story of Doctor Who from 86 to 89. The real story. As told by Andrew Carmel, so
The biased story.
Yeah. Take it.
Nothing against him. It's just it's going to be biased because he's telling the story.
He's telling the story.
As
Yeah.
opposed to somebody else.
Also, I mentioned that RTD is a spec script of his is going to be produced. This is one of the things that he sort of dropped glibly into his into his publicity stuff for It's a Sin. Spec script he wrote.
It was also the bonus thing for one of the tweet-alongs.
Yeah, that's right. That's where it sort of became. I love that. Yeah, so Russell D. Davies wrote a spec script in 1985, and I think he submitted it to the BBC. And he dropped it on one of the tweet-alongs, thinking, "Oh, I don't have anything special for you, but here, look at this. There's this early script I wrote when I was like 12." He wasn't 12 in 1985. And of course, Big Finish never wants to miss an opportunity. He said, "We will produce that script. Thank you very much." And so who knows what is happening? But Russell T Davies spilled the beans himself on British morning television at some point. So that's kind of fun and exciting. Also, there's a trailer for Big Finish Return to the Cybermen.
I'm intrigued by this.
Are you now? Why so, Warren?
I am. Just because it is the same but different. So it'll be interesting to see like what they intended to do in the first place before it became what it became.
Yeah.
Which I have nothing against. I like Revenge of the Cybermen, but oh well. It'd be interesting to see what this is.
Yeah, that's Revenge of the Cybermen had a lot of different iterations before what you saw on screen occurred, being set like at a space casino and stuff and featuring puffballs and whatever, yeah. So anyway, the trailer's traded for that because Big Finish is doing these video trailers now, which is pretty cool. So that's kind of awesome. It's on the official Doctor Who website. By the way, don't forget to subscribe to the official Doctor Who YouTube channel.
Also, having listened to that trailer, the person doing Liz Sladen's voice does a very good job, I think.
That's her daughter.
That's her daughter. Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. That would be why.
Sadie Miller, yep. And the 11.
I can't remember who does Harry's voice, but
that is John Close. Who does Harry now? I can't remember now.
I want to say it's not John Culshaw, but that doesn't make it.
Colshaw's always a safe bet, though.
Yeah, he is, isn't it? Jacob Dubman or John Colshaw, one or the other. And lastly, in the Big Finish news, the 11 is back. The villain, mostly seen in the heard in the Eighth Doctor audios. The 11, as played by Mark Bonner, is returning to pit against the Colin Baker's Sixth Doctor in a new box set for Big Finish, coming in September of 2021, when everyone in the world will be vaccinated. Hopefully, you can.
One would hope.
Well, that's the plan, anyway.
Mark Bonner, who you had mentioned, played in Putting People. Matt Smith.
Two-parter.
Rebel Flesh, Almost People. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And this time he has a companion who is his real-life wife, Lucy Gaskell, also an actor who also appeared in Blake back in 2007. Because these things are recorded in lockdown. So it's like, hey, I got a great idea to cast as your companion, someone who's living within the house, so you don't have to go outside to record someone. But I'm sure she's a fantastic actor in her own right. She's been in a lot of stuff. So I do enjoy the way Big Finish is sort of like, leaning into the recording at home stuff and utilizing, if you will, a lot of actors' strengths and connections and stuff to get stuff done. Kudos to them. They could have completely just said, well, that's it, we got to shut down. But no, fairly quickly into this whole pandemic thing, they leaned into it. So we could just do this at home like we do a podcast, and that's what they're doing. So well done, Big Finish. Well done, everyone, for getting through that news section. But now it's time to, for the second time, talk about Rachel Talalay in the miniscope.
Could be a theme park from the future. Or it might be inside a miniscope.
Oh, shut up.
A miniscope, yes, of course, why not?
Welcome back. Yes, Rachel Talalay in the miniscope, part 2. No easy task ahead of us today, talking about one of the great finales in recent memory in Doctor Who, that only plays second fiddle to literally one of the greatest visual and artistic achievements in the entire history of this nearly 60-year-old show. We are talking about Heaven Sent and Hell Bent today on part 2.
I have favorite episodes that I like more than this one, but this is arguably the best Doctor Who I've ever seen.
I have I mean, it's just like, I honestly, I said this just before we pressed record. This has been slightly daunting to think about what I would say. We all approach this with different things. I think, Chris, you watched it, maybe took a couple notes. Warren, perhaps in keeping with your style, you watched it just before recording. I watched both parts on separate nights, but listening to the commentaries that we ourselves did with Rachel Talalay back in 2016, because
you're welcome, the world.
Yeah, like we gave you what the DVD sets did not. Those are super. I mean, as I was listening to those, I'm thinking, you know what? We don't toot our own horn a lot on this podcast, no. But those are two of the most notable episodes that we've done in the almost 15 years that we've been doing this.
I would give most credit to Rachel Talalay for doing them with us.
Obviously,
exactly.
But I think it's safe to say that it's we're right to be proud of those.
Yeah, links in the show notes as we make a mental note when when this comes out in 2 months' time from us recording it, to both those commentaries. She was amazing during them, gave us so many insights, and clearly appreciated our enthusiasm for her work. This is easily the most biased 3-part miniscope we've ever done, because we are such a fan of Rachel Talalay's work.
Yeah.
And it's because of this. I mean, it was great in Dark Water, Death in Heaven, but oh man,
even beyond just her, because for innumerable occasions she's raved on about Stuart Biddlecombe, who was the director of photography for these 2 episodes, and also for Wayne Yip's episodes as well.
Yes.
But Stuart Biddlecombe has also did some Handmaid's Tale episodes as well. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you, he is not lost his touch. He is still, he's still got an amazing eye.
Gosh. Kind of reminds me, like he's almost like Doctor Who's, who's it? You might have to help me out with this, Warren. Roger Deakins. Is that the guy I'm thinking of?
Yeah, that's the guy who did, well, he's done a ton of stuff. He's done a ton of stuff with the Coen brothers. He did Skyfall, which was the best looking James Bond movie ever made.
Yeah.
And that was his first digital, actually.
Really?
I think.
Yeah.
I could be wrong about that. No, you know what? I might, no, maybe. He might have done some digital with the Coens, but I'm pretty sure that was definitely the first digital James Bond.
I think of how amazing Skyfall looked, and then when I watch Heaven Sent, I think, you know what, like, spoiler alert, folks, we're going to be gushing about Heaven Sent for a little bit here. It looks great. B, it's directed wonderfully. C, the show has the audacity, the audaciousness to make an episode like that. It's I'm still floored by it. Like, it's been 5 years since that thing went out, and I look at that and I'm going, like, what other TV show would do that? Like, what
a set of bleeps on this show.
It's just ridiculous.
Not only go, hey, Capaldi, you're going to do this basically on your lonesome. Yeah. But also, it's going to be an editing triumph that God only knows how he acted through, because, like, I've watched it numerous times, and I'm still like, I can completely keep track of it. But how can I completely keep track of it? Yeah. Even though I am.
It's, Talalay sort of said it in the commentaries and stuff. It's different, like when she experienced in Hellbent, which we'll get to, about, when you're usually doing a normal TV production. You've got cast members, you've got background actors, you've got this, that, and the other thing. With Heaven Sent, you've got one actor. And so it could be tough, obviously. You're putting a lot of pressure on that one actor, but basically, okay, let's get the shot ready. Your one actor gets into position, and you're ready, and you're ready to go. So honestly, a lot of they didn't have more time to make this, and they were probably up against the clock as they would be with any other TV production. But you have to think that there was probably some time saved by just the director and actor just always being there, basically shooting a one-handed production.
But the time they saved, they put into everything else, because my word.
Yeah, they did.
But also, I mean, you're talking about the pressure on said actor. There's gonna be a lot of actors out there who would relish something like that. They're like, oh, spotlight's all mine, bring it on. But there's still a skill and talent requirement to pull it off. Like the one scene that stuck out in my mind just so prominently. I don't know, it's about 10-15 minutes into the episode. Capaldi's in the bedroom thing with the picture, the peeling picture of Clara on the wall or above the mantle, whatever, and the camera shifts from one side of him to the other side and back, and the only light really is light coming in through the window, and just he is so precisely on his mark that when the light's coming in, it's illuminating precisely half his face, and the other half of his face is in darkness, and it just looks so gorgeous. And it's like, you don't get that without the director, without the director of photography, without the lighting person, without the actor being at the top of their game. It's just like all these things coming together to make it look beautiful.
Yeah. It is such a finely choreographed ballet in many ways. I mean, everyone, there's obviously a lot of people involved in the production, but a lot of it in this case is like basically pre-production, like it's up to the camera people and the one actor on screen to sort of like make it happen.
Heaven Sent there was something about like, was it on one of the DVDs or something? Previsualization stuff that was done by Ben Pickles.
It might be. You might be right about that, or somewhere in the on the BBC website or something. I can't remember what it was. Yeah, I think you might be right on that.
Or released to YouTube by the BBC or some such. I think.
Yeah, back before Ben Pickles was Ben Pickles, as I recall. I think he was still John Smith. Yeah. Yeah, God, I mean, it's I just press play because I have it sort of playing in front of me, and I'm just sort of skimming around to find different scenes that we're talking about. Like, just even the first few seconds of this thing, because I sort of watched it with the volume turned way down when I was listening to the commentary of it the other night. And like, even now, like, it just the first few strains of this episode, it's like, oh boy, That's right. It's this one. I'm sorry. I'm just going to be gushing for a little
the
bit.
Music, like the weird stuff that Murray Gold throws at us, that just like weird, like not Tom Baker, Peter Davison era stuff. They just kind of sneaks in, for the hell of it.
And don't forget on the season 9, or on the soundtrack set, this one episode had an entire CD dedicated to it.
Oh yeah, I still play some tracks from this because it's just so good.
It's and the funny thing is about that is basically the episode was given to Murray Gold after basically they finished it. It's like, here you go, Murray. Like, Murray didn't have much of a like an ongoing, here's what I'm going to do with this. Basically, he got it and Rachel Talalay basically gave him one note during the scene in the bedroom or somewhere. I can't remember what scene it was. It might not be as dramatic. So if you could punch it up there, that'd be great. That's basically the only direction that she gave. But Murray Gold has sort of always kind of worked on his own. He never really consulted that much with directors when it came to music compared to like the classic series. And so to be able to look at that, and he looked at, and this is, oh, Rachel, this is an amazing thing. I am going to create you a masterpiece for this. And he saw it as an opportunity. That track, Shepherd's Boy.
Can you imagine, this is not really talking about directing, but can you imagine if that montage, which is a thing of beauty, didn't have the right music? You know what I mean? But it does. It absolutely does.
Yeah.
Just to throw back out there, because I looked it up. As part of the Heaven Sent lockdown tweet along, there's a minute or so long video of the Heaven Sent previsualizations that was released on YouTube.
Oh, okay. So that's cool.
That's what I was thinking of.
That's awesome. Boy, I wonder if we would include that in the show notes too, Chris.
I'll leave the tab open so I can remember.
But getting back to directing, well, I have two things to say about that.
Please do.
When you've got an actor like Peter Capaldi, can you imagine, not to slag off John Barrowman, who will be appearing, and I'm very happy about it, at Revolution Adolics, but can you imagine him saying 4 billion years? It just, no. Only an actor of the caliber of Peter Capaldi can give a line that honestly ridiculous, and you just go, oh yeah, sure. You just buy it. And that's down to Talalay directing too.
Yeah, it reminds me of kind of like, the Hinchcliffe era sort of held up as one of the great times in Doctor Who history. We don't have to tell you that. I know there are some detractors, but whatever. And I think the success of that, Hinchcliffe himself has sort of said, he basically cast everyone to their proper strengths. Hey, there's a director who excels in these type of things. Let's get that director. Roger Murray Leach is superb at designing this sort of set. Let's get that person in there. Who's going to write it? This person excels at this sort of thing. And I find that Stephen Moffat sort of approached this way, okay, so I have an idea. What if we did an episode where it's just the Doctor on his own for the entire hour-long episode? Well, how can you do that? Well, we're not going to sort of no offense to other directors, but sort of say give it to tack it on with another episode that we're doing in the previous production block. No, you can get your best director that you've just seen do the 2-part finale of the previous year. You can write it yourself. I don't think you even put pen to paper until you realize that, oh, right, Peter Capaldi is my Doctor Who here. I get to have him do this. So I think Peter Capaldi being the Doctor is probably the first thing that made them think, you know what, I think we could probably do this. And there's such a quiet...
Not that other actors aren't good.
No, but there's
this is so suited to him. Yeah.
There's such a quiet confidence to Peter Capaldi. And I think that Rachel Talalay has often brought that out of him. Because I think she as she said in the commentary, she has a hands-off approach when it comes to actors. So they sort of rehearse the scene, rehearse, record, that sort of thing. And just sort of gives them space. And they'll do several different takes if they need to. We'll catch it all. We'll capture it all. And Capaldi's one who sort of keeps giving different takes and different angles and different approaches each time he does it. And I think that kind of collaborative approach really works, especially for this kind of episode.
There's a benefit there from the writing as well, insofar as all the the cutaways to the TARDIS inside his head, where where he can talk to Clara, he can talk to the ether, he can reason things out, all that kind of stuff, just to have not only a change of pace to keep things fresh for pacing, but also just to let him do something a little different that isn't just super serial, straight on stuff.
That too, and
There's a
also,
great-
also just say I'm sort of thinking, I'm mildly reminded by one of my favorite Prisoner episodes, Many Happy Returns, which spoilers, number 6 wakes up in the village and it's completely empty, and he fashions a way to escape. There is not a single line of dialogue until the 28-minute mark of that episode, because number 6 doesn't talk to himself. He doesn't talk to himself. Because of those TARDIS scenes that you mentioned there, Chris, this gives Capaldi an excuse to talk throughout the episode without making it look like he's just Tom Baker in episode 1 of The Face of Evil and saying, I don't have a companion anymore. I'm basically talking to myself, and at a couple points I'm talking to the camera.
Fourth wall quite a lot.
Exactly, but the fact that
Face of Evil.
yeah, the fact that that the Doctor is kind of talking to the departed Clara, I think is it just makes this whole thing work, and you can get away with him talking to himself the whole time.
Just to riff off that very briefly. So I'm as we record this, I'm most of the way through the season 14 box set, finally cracking the plastic on it. For behind the sofa stuff, one of the groupings is Tom Baker, Louise Jameson, and Philip Hinchcliffe. And on more than one occasion, in more than one behind the sofa story, Hinchcliffe turns to Tom Baker and says, "Do you remember when you said you didn't need a companion? You could, just do everything on your own?" And Baker turns back to him and says, "That was the worst idea ever."
He's come around in his later years as Tom Baker. Which
yes.
is kind of nice.
His,
Anyway, Warren,
his ego has subsided.
It has a bit. Warren, you were going to say like 2 minutes.
Oh, no,
ago.
I was just going to say one of the great things about his Mind Palace is that it's not even just comedic relief. It's all over the place. Like, he can do all sorts of stuff in there besides the dread that you're showing in the main event. There's one particular bit where he's talking about, I want to see how I'm going to get out of this. And he does this kind of crazy eye roll in the midst of all this nonsense about calculations and all this serious stuff. How am I going to survive this? And he just kind of gives this thing with his face where he goes, whoa, which is just perfect.
And
yeah.
I think Capaldi had fun just chucking those monitors on the swing arm around, because every time you cut to the Mind Palace, he's doing that.
Yeah, that too. I mean, I think the little bit when he's sort of like, he's got the spyglass and he does a little pop noise and stuff that he does, like just adding little elements of humor here and there. And also like, Talalay is great at sort of like slow brooding shots. And Capaldi is one of those actors that can just sit still and have it be like an impressive performance just by not moving. He doesn't have to be as frenetic as perhaps a younger actor might be. He carries such gravitas with him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was when I was watching, I was kind of just running through my mind. I'm like, which other Doctor actors could do this and pull it off in the same way? Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if there were any.
No, and this is where the direction comes in.
Baker.
Because, perhaps a lesser director would think we need to keep the action up. So they'd have like 2 or 3 different cuts just to keep like some movement going on the screen. But because the story and the director has enough confidence in their leading actor that, we can just have Peter Capaldi stand there for 30 seconds and talk and move slightly. And it's still such a compelling scene that's the trust that Talalay has in the actors, and Capaldi specifically, that, we don't need to create a frenetic atmosphere to this. It doesn't require for the episode either.
I'm watching Matt Smith's stuff now, and it's interesting being 2 Doctors removed from him, realizing without seeing him week after week, what a great physical actor that guy is. Like,
he is.
It is insane what he's pulling out. Like, it's not suitable for this, but it is pretty insane to watch him. And you're like, wow, this guy is actually really good at this.
Yeah. There is, it's often been said, like, basically the Doctor's a character, and, you could insert the Doctor into any other story and it would still work well. But as I said before, Heaven Sent is written for Peter Capaldi, essentially, and I don't think it is for any other Doctor, and it's not for any other director. This is just like... No. The Stuart Beddlecombe, the DOP, Will Oswald, who did the editing, especially on the ending montage. There has seldom been as perfect a marriage between craft and craftspeople as there was here.
Sometimes it just comes together, and this is one of those times.
It does, and I can't tell if it was, like it's not like the little scrappy story that could. I mean, I remember hearing I think early on in the season, they sort of said, like, it wasn't like a rumor. It was actually said in like Doctor Who magazine or something, Moffat sort of drops, oh, by the way, an episode later on is just going to be Peter Capaldi or something like that. And I thought, that's okay. I am intrigued to see what happens here. I don't know how they'll quite pull this off. And I thought it would be like literally like the Dr. Light episode, because that's where you would first think that would kind of happen. No, it's the centerpiece of the entire season, essentially, is relying on this one episode.
The arc is kind of irrelevant. Like, it gets in the way of this whole thing.
It is a bit, yeah, no.
It does,
yeah.
Especially in Hellbent, at the end with a conversation with me about the hybrid, and it's the final episode of the series, and they're still saying, oh, it could be this, it could be that, it could be the other thing, and it just drives me up the wall. I
forgot about the hybrid bit until I watched, because I haven't seen series 9 in a little while, and I sort of like when you watch it out of context. It's
having got the Capaldi Blu-ray set reasonably recently. Thankfully, I watched series 9 a little over a year ago.
Yeah, so it's still kind of fresh. Usually we like sort of say, oh, we like this camera angle and this zoom here on this one. We just sort of talked about the overall piece, which is another testament to how amazing it is. Like, it isn't like, oh, there's that one shot and that's what sort of sells it. And that's just like everything from front to back of this piece, from the lighting to the camera work. I can't think of like any like one standout piece compared to like a whole bunch of, average sort of shots. Like, it's basically all amazing. Every single shot in this is so finely tuned and finely crafted that I have a hard time picking out specific things to talk about this.
I have a few.
Do it.
If you want to get into them.
I do.
So even right out of the gate, as the Capaldi's appears and whatever, there's just as the cold open ends, he's got his short little monologue, but there's a low angle push in on Capaldi's face as he wraps up his speech before they cut to the
hero shot, basically.
As they cut to the opening titles, which looked really, really nice. Kind of sets a good stage.
And wasn't originally, like, it wasn't scripted. That bit was not scripted as the pre-title. Like, the pre-titles are supposed to go on for several minutes after that.
Oh,
but Talalay saw that. Yeah, Talalay saw that and says, no, we have to have the credits here. Like, this is the point right here.
Because I remember when, for the commentaries we did with her, you and Warren, or you two did the first one, and then it was you and I, Stephen, on the second one.
Yeah.
And I remember, because the scripts were out on the BBC Writers' Room site, and I remember following along with the script as we did the commentary, but I do you remember if the opening titles were shifted versus what the script said? Or?
Oh yeah, definitely shifted several minutes later. I don't remember where they were in the actual, like, I don't have the script on hand right now, but yeah, it was several minutes later than where it appeared in the actual episode. And there was a whole bunch of like different editing, like about like the 15-minute mark. I mentioned this in the commentary. You can quite clearly tell I'm following along in the script, but it's it's an interesting thing to see how it goes from script to shooting to how it's edited together. And that's part of the great thing about being a director in the UK, is that Talalay had control over this, and not just sort of like, well, there we go, we shot the stuff, I'm sure you'll piece it together fine, standard staff editor of this program that I'm working on as I head off to another project before this one's even completed. It was fascinating because like there's a 10-minute chunk of the scripted version, the original scripted version, that is completely different in order to how it appeared on screen. And that's the fascinating bit too. I mean, the shots are amazing, the acting is superb, but it's also like how it is assembled that really makes that whole thing really happen in this episode. Anyway, we got to one camera move there, Chris. What's your next note?
Kind of camera stuff, but not quite camera stuff, but kind of still. I'm sure this was scripted rather than a directorial choice, but all the screens set up just to show the Vale's point of view, so the Doctor can still keep tabs on where where the veil is and whatever, but just also be kind of freaked out
Yeah.
by it as well.
Those were
I just
shot.
love that conceptually.
Yeah, those are shot in color and were graded as black and white later on during editing.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. I'm just telling you things from our commentary, by the way. You should listen to those
Yeah.
commentaries if you haven't yet.
Well, I have, but it was
I know. I'm
many
talking
years
to the
ago.
listener. Talking to the listeners. Anyway.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Another one was in the garden after he's dug up the mound of dirt. There's a bunch of shots sequentially from like behind plants and like leaves dangling in front of the camera and whatnot. We talked last week about her Talallay's horror direction skills and penchants coming through, and that to me seems like the kind of thing I might expect to see in a horror film, where you have this kind of obscured view just to make things that much creepier.
Yeah. As she
There's
said,
a ton of horror stuff in this.
yes, as she has said, she didn't feel she needed to prove her horror credentials because she's well versed in it.
Yeah,
Through
well,
the nightmare
proving them
Amy.
and exercising them are two different things, of course.
That too. Yeah. Yeah.
And then the only other one I specifically called out was there's a awesome little vertigo zoom shot.
Yeah.
Right when the crystal wall is introduced, which I always love that. I just love that move.
Retrograde zoom. I think we said, the dolly zoom, and she corrects us by saying retrograde zoom because that's the proper term for that.
I always thought it was called
apparently.
vertigo. Something
Yeah.
vertigo, whatever.
The Jaws effect, yeah.
The Jaws effect is where I remember it, but I mean, I never saw Vertigo. Even
Also
still,
used really well in Poltergeist. Basically the same thing.
yeah, it's been slightly more overused perhaps in recent years. Not just Doctor Who, but everywhere. I think it's the Jaws shot that I remember. But you know what? Whenever it's sort of used in Doctor Who and stuff, it's like, oh wow, that's kind of cool. Actually, that's rather effective. And so, when you pull, like, that shot is kind of like the Wilhelm screen. Like, you're thinking, yeah, iconic. But then, there's a fine line between iconic and overused. But we're not there yet.
I can take that zoom shot a lot more than I can take a Wilhelm screen these days.
Yeah, now that I know where to look with the Wilhelm screen, I'm like, oh, okay, well, bravo, guys. You guys did.
That's not to say I don't appreciate a Wilhelm scream, because every time I come across something that has it, I'm like, oh, isn't that awesome?
Me too. I know.
I used to be, and now I'm like, I'm sick of this.
Yeah. Is that the last of your notes there, Chris?
Other than the fact that, like Death in Heaven, Heaven Sent had altered titles. We have just Capaldi's name, no Jenna Coleman, despite the fact she's actually in the episode, at least to a small degree.
Very small degree.
Because as was revealed, whenever, all those shots of Clara from behind were still Jenna Coleman, were they not?
They were.
Even though she didn't, they could have used any old body double for that.
They actually used a body double for some of them. They looked at it in the end and she said, "You know what? No, I think it looks better with Jenna Coleman in there." But I think they actually like digitally stabilized, so like just to make her perfectly still, because that kind of defeated the illusion if she was moving around and stuff. So
Fair enough.
yeah,
That's a reasonable style choice.
I think so. Warren, you have any other thoughts on Heaven Sent?
No, although I will kind of skip a tiny touch forward. I was telling you earlier today that Hellbent is good, but it's like 2001 and 2010. 2001 is transcendent. 2010 is a good movie. Hellbent's a good movie. It's quite a good movie, but it can't possibly be this. Nor should it be, really.
No, it's an entirely different thing, and the montage is like one of the. I have yet to sort of like slow that down, because as it starts out, evenly paced and sort of like, and then it just builds up and the clips get shorter and shorter and shorter. And I imagine like at some point it gets to be like frames long or something.
It's pretty close. Yeah. I was watching that today. I'm like, yeah, there's some 5-10 frame stuff.
Yeah. But it never feels like, what's going on? Like you never feel, because it's the repetition angle of it that makes it happen. And of course the music and
just
everything.
The precise choice of what they're showing too.
Yeah. And I've mentioned this many times in this podcast, but I watched this set with an audience at Chicago TARDIS in 2015, and
oh right, yeah,
the tumult of roars and cheers. First, when he said, "Personally, I think that's a hell of a bird," and then when Gallifrey was revealed, I mean, you think about this. this artistic German expressionism of a Doctor Who episode, and put it in front of a festival audience like Spinal Tap,
who then are quiet because they're blown away by this montage, and then they get the double payoff.
It should be Jazz Odyssey by Spinal Tap in front of the puppet show crowd, but it isn't. It was just like such an amazing piece of work. I'm so happy that everything worked out for this to be the episode to be screened in front of a whole bunch of people, because it just went to show that not only is it a brilliant masterpiece when you're watching it just on the telly at home and stuff, but when you're playing it in front of a massive crowd, it is a staggering piece of work.
I seem to recall after we saw it, there were some swears flying back and forth on Google Chat.
There might have been. It was. I remember because I saw a preview copy on I think the Wednesday night, so I saw it going in, and then I watched it again. I think the day on the Saturday that it was, and then that I've said this too, but I thought, I'll just sort of sit along and check out Twitter and see what's going on. I've seen this twice already in the last 24 to 48 hours. I know I was just enthralled as if I was watching it for the first time, and almost in tears at the end. It was just such an emotional moment to watch that. And it broke Rachel up in the commentary when I told her that. She was like, "You've choked me up." It's rare for her to be able to, have her work displayed in that way. Like, how many Doctor Who episodes have been able to have been screened in front of a convention audience? And the answer is not very many over the course, debut performance, basically, people seeing it for the first time. Not a lot. And so it was great that that this episode and that Rachel Talalay's work had the stage that it did in late November 2015. Yeah. Well, feel like we should almost wrap up the show, but no, we have Heaven Hellbent, which is, as Warren said, a very, very good episode, but an entirely different episode. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that one, Warren. What are your thoughts? Your opening thoughts?
To start with, I like the fact that there's, like you said, there's barely any dialogue to begin with. It's just kind of, at least from Capaldi, he doesn't say a damn thing for about 12 minutes or so, and then he tells off that Rassilon, of all people.
Yeah.
So that part's great. The barn is, I wasn't aware the barn was as close to the Gallifreyan dome as it is. It kind of takes away from the War Doctor's saunter in Day of the Doctor, where it looks like he's been walking for miles and miles. It looks like it's maybe a 10-minute jaunt from the capital.
True. Yeah. Maybe the barn moves. Maybe the barn's his TARDIS.
That's possible. Possibly, yes. Possibly
maybe the
true.
capital moves. If they're Time Lords.
Also true, yeah. Yeah, it could be a thing they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of fun, and also it's not the same thing, but it's kind of cool how they frame it with Capaldi in the diner doing his shtick, and then kind of going back and forth with the story. It's nice to cut back to that because it gives you some tension where you need it, because he just doesn't tell you that part of the story yet, or he doesn't, he leaves this part out or that part out. Also, I love it when the Sisterhood Karn shows up because they're great no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the unreliable narrator being Capaldi with the guitar and
exactly,
in the shop, yeah. The very burger shop that's no longer there, I don't think, but where we were at earlier that month as it came out in November. Yeah, at the very end, I'm looking at it, go, I was at that table. We were sitting.
I've eaten their terrible burgers.
Yeah, I like the fact that Talalay actually said, "Not very good milkshakes."
No, they did not. They do not know how to make American food.
No, and I equated it to the fact that it's kind of like, hey, come get your Mexican food at Chipotle, and you go, okay, well, is this really Mexican food or is it not?
I'm a Vancouverite. We are. I could literally walk to the border if I wanted to with America and get far better. Well, not anymore, but at one time, get far better Mexican food 5 minutes in. That border makes all the difference. So Wales, good luck with Mexican food, or American food for that matter. I understand. I feel your pain because I have that with Mexican food here.
Mm-hmm. What I love about this episode is that it's such a stark contrast. I mean, it's been the first episode, Heaven Sent, was all Capaldi. He's talking right from the get go. I never timed it out, but he's basically silent until his confrontation with Rassilon. in the desert, like, 11 minutes into the episode. It's other people talking at him, basically, trying to get a response out of him. He does nothing. He sort of like drags his foot across and makes that line and stuff. Like, it's such a stark contrast where you get one actor saying everything, and all of a sudden that one actor is still the focal point of the first quarter of this episode, but it's everyone else around him because there's this massive cast, and yet he's still the focal point because he's saying nothing, which I thought was a very interesting
and we
change.
also go from German expressionism to Western space adventure and haunted house all in the same thing.
Yeah, like that's the side of a director right there. Like, this is the same production block. It's not like they're in the, let's come back like 3 months later and make another episode or something. Like, this is the same production block as Heaven Sent. And they're often like, the Canary Islands with a massive cast and the TARDIS and like, prop automobiles. And like, there's a whole bunch of stuff. It's almost
the first time we've seen Gallifrey since when?
Like, a while. But, it's it's just fascinating that, this it's kind of the throwaway part of the episode is the bit set on Gallifrey and stuff, because it also builds up to the last half of it. And it's that throwaway quote unquote bit, which is like easily the most expensive and, potentially troubling, because whenever you're flying to a foreign location from England to shoot something, you got to make sure that everything is there, and the fact that they had to build this side of a barn and like all the extras and the cars and the TARDIS and like the facade of the restaurant, like everything comes over for these few scenes, which I thought is, goodness me, that could have really gone wrong somehow, but it didn't. And the weather was bad too. It was cold and windy.
Also,
and
I take it back. We'd seen Gallifrey like 2 seasons beforehand. I mean, it's Gallifrey in a different time, but we still see it for the first time in a long time for the show.
But this actually, this is really
it's proper Gallifrey,
on Gallifrey,
not just the War Council, dissing the High Council, which is still beautiful.
Yeah, no, you made a good point about the spaghetti westerns ish, and she was sort of taught, like, you told, like, maybe you should watch some spaghetti westerns, and she didn't want to go too far into like, and
it doesn't
pantomime or mockery in a way, like it's like, well, let's not mimic it too closely. Yes, that's kind of what we're going for here, and it feels like a western without being, a western. Like, there's no like sort of like Sergio Leone.
It's not the Mandalorian.
It's no Stone Cold Mercy.
There's no more. It's not Count Called Mercy. There's no direct homages to it being a western. It just happens to sort of be similarly featured. Yeah, exactly. Chris, do you have any opening thoughts about Hellbent? I say opening thoughts. We're just sort of like going into random discussion at this point, but.
Oh man, I don't even know where to begin. I mean, I adore it, obviously. I I appreciate that Talalay has the opportunity to have that multitude of genres within the one story, kind of flex her muscles, as it were. The overarching thing from the story, from the writing, that comes through in spades from the performances and the direction is the Doctor and Clara. And I love how Capaldi and Coleman interact with each other, how they, throughout their entire time together. They've just been an amazing combination, and it's really sad to see that end.
Yeah.
It's incredibly, and this is just how Capaldi and Coleman play it as much as anything, I'm sure. It is so heartbreaking when Capaldi's at the counter in the diner and he's like, if I ever saw Clara again, I would know her in a minute, or whatever the exact wording was. And she's there inches away from his face and he doesn't even know. And it's just like, oh, it just tears you apart.
Yeah, they're my favorite Doctor companion duo, I think, ever. classic or
I
modern.
can't make that claim.
I know you can't. I can. God, they won me over. They won me over. Like, you know, it's
Tom
such
Baker
a...
and Sarah, come on, man.
I'll tell you what. I mean, admittedly, I didn't grow up with T-Bake and Sarah. So, like, you know, oddly enough, that was like my last bit of Doctor Who that I got to. Mine would be Doctor Who First Romana. But there's just such a genuine, you know, affection there without it sort of it never veers into like, ooh, are they or aren't they? There's no like Ninth Doctor, 10th Doctor Rose business going on there. Like that is sort of left off the table. It's such a unique and interesting relationship because of that, you know, because sex and that sort of physical love is off the table, probably at Capaldi's insistence, so hanky-panky in the TARDIS.
Yeah. I mean, the age difference might be enough to...
Well, also the man has his wedding ring covered
easier.
by another ring, so yeah.
Yeah, you know.
But there's also another scene in the second TARDIS, I think it was, where Capaldi is just basically raving about, you know, how far he's gone, like the literal end of the universe and all this to try to save Clara, and how it's, you know, never again, and oh no, that's when they're arguing about the memory wipe, I think is what it is.
Yeah, it's about there, yeah.
But no, it's, I'm not sure that I'd say they're my favorite overall, but I just it's, you know, those who might prefer, you know, the 10th Doctor and Rose or the 11th Doctor and Amy, this puts either of those combinations to shame.
To shame. You hear that, other Doctor
To
companion?
shame.
Yeah. Get out. You don't need you.
I think this is also the only time I really enjoyed me in a story, like the conversation she has when she, you know, 5 minutes to go in the universe, and she's sitting in that chair, and the Doctor and her having that conversation, and I quite like that. But I think what really helps is just the way that was shot, just the orange lighting. And when they go to the
the universe is pretty nice looking. Yeah.
When they go to the wide shots, and there's like the engorged star sun nearby. It's probably presumably the last star to expire. It just looks so beautiful.
She says on the commentary that was her favorite bit that she shot out of those two episodes.
Don't blame her. I don't doubt it.
It
looks so gorgeous.
Yeah, the lighting, the set design from the late great Michael Pickwood. I mean, everything sort of like, you know, I said it, and it just works because there's a cast of hundreds to begin the episode, and like the last 20 minutes is three people in the entire episode. At the very end of the universe, and you know, in some ways, it makes for more compelling and visually interesting drama when you don't have to worry about getting as many characters into a shot as you need to. When you're only worrying about three people there, you can just really focus in on the characters a lot more, and that conversation, which is just between the Doctor and me, is just so great because me is sort of like bathed in light from the last dying star, essentially sitting in the chair, and Capaldi, you know, being Capaldi. It was scripted, I think, or maybe it was assumed that the scene would be like basically they'd be sitting down. Me was happy sitting down. Capaldi is an actor who likes to move around, so that was never going to happen. So Capaldi's the one that sort of creates the action just from his natural, you know, just his natural instinct to just keep moving around and stroll around and pace around a little bit, and it just works. And he could explore that set. I've skipped ahead to it right now, and you're right. Like there's just these orange lights that are coming in there, and it's breathtaking. Yeah,
it's really breathtaking.
It's like it looks like it's literally curtains for the universe, but it's actual kind of light curtains too. So
kind of, yeah. And just one of the other things I called out on my notes, just relative to the way it was lit, or the effect of the way it was lit, when the Doctor and Clara are in the cloisters trying to open that service patch thing. I mean, it's shot quite darkly, but there's never ever a problem seeing things that you're supposed to see.
Yeah.
So whether that's Dr. Clara or when Ohila and the General and the rest come in, like it just looks really nice because you have this almost like black and white contrasty kind of scenario, and the stuff you're supposed to see, you can see. The stuff that's supposed to be masked is masked, and just looks perfect. Mm-hmm. Like execution achieved.
Yeah, like there's no duff shadows falling where they shouldn't be. It's a perfectly lit and shot set that the actors can move around. They're not like, I have to stay exactly here, otherwise I'm going to fall out of focus or something like that. Like they know where to be, and the director knows where they're going to be, and so can sort of like accommodate that if they need to move it around. If Capaldi decides I'm going to move this way a little bit, the shot isn't ruined.
Yeah, and I guess it kind of goes back to my earlier comment about Capaldi and Heaven Sent. Just hitting it's the proficiency of the actor, and just knowing where they're supposed to be and when, and doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hellbent also features an unintentional director's cameo as one of the sliders, basically. She appears as one of sort of the screaming images in the Time Lord robes, basically because the actor originally sort of doing it wasn't sort of giving it all, and so Talalay sort of says, "No, here's how you do it," and they shot it, and in editing they thought, you know what, this one yours is actually the best, and so she sort of said, "Well, obscure it a lot because I don't want it to make it look like I'm like shoving my face in there for an Alfred Hitchcock cameo." But if you look closely, that is definitely her as one of the screaming mages. Which I thought, what I would have allowed you to have a cameo. I think you're entitled to have a director's cameo in this instance. Not all Doctor Who directors get that honor, but I think you probably earned it.
No, not everyone can be Christopher Barry or Graham Harper.
Graham Harper, Douglas Camfield.
I quite like the description of the Matrix as a computer based on screaming ghosts.
Yeah, because that's pretty much what it is, essentially. Deleted hard drive files and stuff. Yeah. Warren, do you have any other thoughts on this one?
No, I mean, like I said, this is not the same thing, but it's also got a lot to deliver on. I'm not sure it does deliver on the hybrid. I never thought the hybrid was all that great an arc to begin with, so it just kind of gets in the way of stuff.
There's the argument, I suppose, that can be made that the hybrid is meant to be left ambiguous as well.
But having said that, it gets a whole bunch of stuff done anyway. And it even sets stuff up later where Capaldi's talking about never eat pears. That's very important. And then he says that when he regenerates as well.
I know. I didn't remember that until I saw this bit.
That the 10th Doctor says, I hate pears?
He just mentioned, no, it's Human Nature, Family of Blood.
Human Nature,
right,
sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I forgot how much in that farewell speech to Clara is sort of replicated in his last speech. I never picked up on that. Silly me, goodness me! It's probably obvious to everyone who watched it and in the finale, but not to me, not to this idiot. Yeah, Chris, do you have notes written down for this one too, by any chance?
I did. We've kind of covered them all off, other than just before Clara enters the story, there's a weird dip to black, which I found noticeable. And
Clara enters basically to incorporate footage from Face the Raven, more or less, I think. Probably,
yeah,
right?
I suppose so.
Yeah.
And then as far as the sliders are concerned, I just love that they're just like projections of images, not actual people in costumes. It just looks really cool.
Does.
Oh, one more thing, and this has nothing to do with directing. And I've said this before. Stephen Moffat, for all the slag, some of them justified, of sexism and all the rest of it. This is the first time we've ever seen a male to female or otherwise regeneration on screen.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
Well, Paul McGann was offered it in Night of the Doctor, but
the actor, I don't know her name. She was in The Haunting of Bly Manor, though.
She's also in Years and Years. She's great.
She is in Years and Years.
Yeah,
she's awesome in that.
Talalay didn't have much of a say in the casting, actually, but so that was more of Andy Pryor's task. And so, but she was kind of happy that she was bald or clean shaven because it helped the transition between Ken Bones, who was also bald, into his new persona. So that was kind of the. But you're right,
isn't even necessary because it's not like hairstyles can't and don't change from one generation to
I think
No, I
that's just
know.
generally her hairstyle. She's like that in Years and Years as well.
Yeah,
is,
I think
yeah.
that's just how she does it. But
And also-
it probably helps the CG people not to have to morph.
Yeah,
hair
it doesn't
on
hurt.
someone.
It's easier for compositing and such.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know how much time it necessarily saves, but okay, let's pretend it does save some.
But it also works in the context of the story. That just gives you less to think about. It's like, oh yeah, seems like the same character, although it's a woman and different, different race and all the rest of it. It just seems more thematically correct, if that makes any
Yeah.
sense.
yeah.
And then, of course, as I'm sure talked about somewhere in the past, how awesome of a name is Ken Bones anyway.
It's very
Just
true.
awesome.
So much so that I could never believe that that's his actual name. But
It
also
sounds like a
find-
Rush lyric.
yeah,
I also find it interesting that we spent whatever 15 or whatever minutes, 20 minutes on talking about an episode of Doctor Who and haven't specifically called out Donald Sumter being in it.
I know he was in it. Timothy Dalton was supposed to be, or was offered, but was unavailable. But the great
That
thing
would have been
about-
kind of great, though.
Great thing about casting Time Lords is they can just have him regenerate, and Donald Sumter's amazing. More famous these days for Game of Thrones, but he was also superb in like one scene in Chernobyl. And he's amazing in it. And of course, he's been in Doctor Who in the past as well. But
But I would have liked to see Timothy Dalton in this, too, because I think he is great as Rassilon.
yeah, that would have been interesting. And interestingly enough, he's credited as the president in the closing credits and not as Rassilon. So
Yeah.
we just sort of assume it's Rassilon in some ways.
Well,
but-
he tells us that.
Yeah,
so.
that's true. Yeah, I mean, God, this is par for the course. Beautifully shot, beautifully acted. It's a Rachel Talalay joint. So yes, it's a superb piece of television. It's it's almost an insult in a way because Doctor Who almost doesn't deserve an episode like Heaven Sent. It's like, really?
Wow, that's some self-loathing there, baby.
It is a little bit. It's like, how dare you? How dare you give us? How dare you make me basically choose a second favorite series season finale in Modern Who? Because obviously, this I think it has to be my favorite 2-part finale. How can it not be? And so like it's almost like, how dare you deny me a debate with myself about which ones I like better? Because it's obviously going to be Heaven Sent and Hellbent.
Bear in mind as well, Moffat had assumed anyway that after these and then Husbands of River Song, that was it for him. So he was doubtless giving it his all to go out on a high note.
Yeah, true.
And it shows. It shows. These are 2 amazingly crafted pieces of television that should have won a lot more awards than they did. God, I'm still annoyed that the Hugo didn't go to for Best Dramatic Presentation to Heaven Sent. That Capaldi didn't get nominated for a BAFTA or something for that episode alone. I mean, it's the fact that I can't remember who won BAFTAs and Hugos from 2015 just goes to show that sometimes
Well, because who cares?
it's the episodes that don't win but carry on and sort of like build a bigger reputation. To go back to 2001, a musical called Oliver won Best Picture in 1968, the same year that 2001 came out. Guess which movie we're still talking about today? It ain't Oliver.
Oliver,
folks.
of course.
It ain't
I
Oliver.
love the part with the space baby at the end of Oliver. Wait a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Well, I
Heaven
guess
Sent,
our prize is that we have Heaven Sent and Hellbent.
we do.
That's true.
And it just, and watching these 2 again after the first time in maybe a couple years and just having that impact for me and having perhaps even more impact just goes to show that, I think the Capaldi era as a whole is one that is worthy of revisiting for those that perhaps were turned off initially by his grumpiness. And these 2 episodes are like, goodness me,
And plenty of other ones.
Yeah, I know, but like
I
but just specifically for this miniscope, I mean, these 2 episodes are just impossibly good.
Yeah.
They are
said
just
it last
impossibly
week.
good.
I miss Capaldi so much.
I do too.
And watching these again today, it's like even that much more because he is just so on his game for these.
Mm-hmm. He is, as we'll see in his personal finale, and alas, to date, Rachel Talalay's finale in Doctor Who, in part 3 of our 3-part miniscope where we cover off World Enough in Time, The Doctor Falls, and Twice Upon a Time. Yeah, we're gonna need a couple days between recording that and this to sort of like let it settle. Not that they're bad, but they're not Heaven Sent. They're entirely different beasts. So I look forward to why. It's been a while since I watched those. Oddly enough, I also saw those when I was in England again. So that's very strange that these episodes sort of like rotate around times when I go to England for some reason.
It's all about you.
It is about me. It is about me. So join us next week for part 3 of our Rachel Talalay miniscope, won't you? Until then, I am Stephen in Edmonton.
Warren in Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
So long for now.
You've been listening to Radio Free Skaro. Find us online at radiofreeskaro.com. Follow us on Twitter and Tumblr at Radio Free Skaro. Subscribe to us on iTunes and donate to the show at patreon.com/Radio Free Skaro. Thank you.